Hey, how's it going? This is Eric Palmer from NCI. We're with the NCI High Performance HVAC podcast. We're at Summit 2025. My co-host here is Adam Mufich from NCI, and we're joined by Brian Wright and Axel from Crossway Mechanical in Houston, Texas. And just really an honor to have you guys on. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what you guys are getting into in your company and how things are going, kind of where you started. So just want to get a little bit of background on where did you guys come from? What's your roots in the industry?
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be part of NCI. I started in 1996. Just went to work for a gentleman and became an installer and fell in love with it, realizing that that's pretty much where God had me. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do with my career, but got right into the HVAC industry, became an installer, and loved putting things together, and just wanted to get good at it. So stuck with it. From there, I went on about 3 years working there, and then I had an opportunity to buy into a company and work for someone, and yeah, took that to another level, working with some pillars in the industry that were pretty well known in the Houston area. And then in 2013, started Crossway Mechanical. My wife and I, in one truck, and had a dream and a vision, and went out there and always had a passion to wanting to do things right. But had a lot to learn, had a lot of bad habits, a lot of just lack of training and educating. But then we found about 8 years ago, found NCI, and took us on a whole different path that I tell people it wasn't life changing, it was bottom line changing. You know.
So what was that experience initially with NCI? How did you get introduced to NCI? What was kind of the backstory behind that?
So NCI, we were just wanting more like knowledge and training on how to do things better. We always had a good reputation for, quality work and having to run a good, answering the phones, being readily available. But there was just knowing that the industry's evolved with the technology of computers and YouTube and different things. Started looking like, just kind of trying to re-educate ourselves a little bit, and reached out to NCI. Went to a class in Fort Worth with Paul Weeble, and literally was a life-changing class for me. When I left that class, I drove back, and I remember calling my wife, just pretty much in tears, saying, "Man, I think I've been doing things the wrong way." I said, "Man, maybe we should close the business and start over." And I didn't know if I ever killed anybody from putting gas furnaces in and not measuring and doing proper startup on gas furnaces. So it was, just drive safe, get home, and it was a 3-hour drive, and just thought about what we can do. And that following week, we ordered field piece manometers for our team, and we said we're going to implement this, and we made it. We started creating a culture from there. And from that time on, we just started implementing NCI practices and standards. And it was, you go to these seminars, and you take you go to these sales seminars, you get hyped up. And on the way, I was praying, I was like, man, I don't want this to be just something that's like a gold nugget that you take and you're excited for 4 to 6 weeks. Like, I wanted to implement it, and like that way it would be because I was concerned about safety for the homeowners.
Mhm.
And then second is I wanted to do things right. So I mean, and so that's what we started doing. And so we started attending the classes and getting our guys trained, and from there it's evolved.
So as far as what you're actually doing in the industry, your scope of work, what can you tell us more about specifically what you guys are doing on you're on the doing some stuff on the building side of things, right?
We started working on litigation cases with people when in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been, I mean, in Houston, of course, the real estate has always been an ever expanding industry. Somehow the homes and the building codes, everything's getting cheaper while the the real estate prices are getting higher. That is something that a lot of homeowners have been, you know, noticing how the how lackluster the quality of construction is, and that HVAC doesn't escape that. And it's hard apparently to find expertise that are not just doing things only per code. As we all know, code is just the minimum that is legally there. That's basically it's just so that someone won't die with what you install. But we go in there if we're actually looking for high performance, or at least at the very least that something performs the way it's supposed to. It's difficult to find that. So that's when we started being called. By the time I joined Crossway in 2019, the culture of Crossway was already very data driven. Any call that you go to, you're measuring static, you're measuring what airflow settings you got the blower on before you even think to even adjust a TXV or think anything about the refrigerant cycle. So that was my training. I actually don't really know any other way of doing it, and that is what I guess led us to be the people that these homeowners can rely on whenever it comes to identifying what is actually wrong with the system, even if nothing is wrong per code. So it's been an interesting experience.
So you said you brought up litigation. You started doing cases in litigation. So is that you are like a professional witness against somebody or for, or like how does that work?
Whatever's needed normally, right?
Yeah.
For or against.
So there's some building science guys in the Houston area that we're actually at. We teamed up with them, and so they put us on some cases to do the forensic work on the HVAC. So we would go and do testing, look at codes, look at design and application, and then we had performance data. And so we would just put that together, and then it takes years for these cases to settle, but then we just started getting a reputation for doing good reports, having the right information, and using like Comfort Max and Airlight, the apps to like just show graphs and colors, and so we started. I guess the word got out there with other attorneys, but it was the mold journey at the time when I was taking NCI that kind of really led me to that. And I started realizing that there was so many systems out there that had so many deficiencies that were creating a lot of these homes to be unhealthy. And so that's kind of with partnering with the NCI and training. And then we brought Paul Weeble down to do some training in the field and hands-on, and started really learning. And, then Paul kind of mentioned to me about building science and so kind of put me on a path for that. So and then I fell in love with it. But it's a combination of doing things right, having a good reputation, having we've branded Crossway Mechanical, our team, supply houses. Everyone's known me in the Houston area. It's a small community, even that's still one of the largest cities, but we've just had a good reputation and always kind of kept our nose clean, if you will. And but through measuring and capturing data has opened up these doors and these avenues, and so there's a need for a lot. There's a lot of demand out there, but we just don't have the resources and enough people trained that have the experience to go out and do that. So hopefully through NCI and training and educating, we'll bring up the industry and be able to rise. Have more people out there doing the right thing.
So the forensics and the litigation, that's something that probably not a whole lot of people have any experience with or knowledge about. Could you tell us maybe a little bit more on that, as far as maybe give us an example of a case that you were on and what you had to deal with and what the situation was?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the first cases that I got from referral from NCI was a carbon monoxide case out of San Antonio. And so we got hired on that case, and we went to a facility up north of Dallas where they actually had the furnace that they pulled out of that house. And so we, of course, dealing with experts and then attorneys from both sides, we got to go to this facility, and we actually hooked up a natural gas to this furnace, and we actually got to connect it to live in a warehouse. And then we saw how there was so much rust in the burners. This was an older furnace, but the burner trays were so rusted that when we lit the blowback of the flames right in front of it, like it was right in front of everyone's eyes. But it was a cool experience because we were able to hook it up, test it, capture data, video. Then we were able to go into a lab and everyone was able to break it down, and we broke it down in pieces. And so, then we had pictures, then we had to put together like our knowledge on lack of maintenance. And, then we had to read um, testimonials, depositions from there's 3 other HVAC companies that had actually worked on that house within a year and a half on that furnace and stuff like this. And then Axel and I got an opportunity to go back to that house within a year of that time frame, and then do the forensics, like where that was actually installed. The homeowner winded up surviving, but was a pianist. He lost 3 fingers because he was cooking at the time that when they found him, he was cooking, and so he had fallen on the stove or hot water. He lost 3 fingers, and but we got to go do the forensic at the house, and then we actually found where the new company put in the same, like in the same closet, this furnace. And I found an opening in an attic, and we crawled through there. Well, we found where the vent pipe was still, it was like old 5-inch vent pipe, but there was like a piece missing. So there was so much soot, so much, and then the levels of carbon monoxide still being put with the new furnace in that house, so we had a lot of good pictures, a lot of good evidence. And then when we came down, we locked out that existing furnace so that they could get the right people over there to fix it right, and vent it properly. So, I mean, that's just one case that we had the opportunity to be on. But I mean, there's a lot of cases, but we've been fortunate that a lot of this stuff settles. And, I think that when you have the right information, the right data, and, it's, that's all we're doing. We're just presenting the data, right? It's hard to argue that. And, but so we haven't really had to go, I had a couple, we've had litigation that we've actually had to go through the trial, but a lot of these cases settle. And so, but it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time doing the reports, the photos, going through that, reading stuff, answering questions.
Outside of the litigation cases, before some cases go to legal, what we found is that a lot of homeowners, once they've become aware of any damages that are in their home or how airflow can affect their health, we end up being some of the people who, through our findings and how we list them, we can empower them with the knowledge that they need to talk to the people responsible for the system installation. So we would never like to talk bad about any people in the industry, but the truth of the matter is that many times when someone has an issue with what they have, it's borderline impossible for them to get the original builders or installers to fix the problem. If they are still in contact with that company, they go through a lot of gaslighting. They go through a lot of even manipulation on behalf of some of the people who install it, because they're protecting themselves, and that's what the homeowner is trying to do. And since they lack the knowledge, they don't know when something is right or wrong. But we've seen how some people have become more educated and how much confident they feel to talk to the people who are responsible for the installation of their systems and just be able to talk to them. Hey, I know that this is wrong. I have all the data here that shows me this is wrong. Can you provide the same data that shows me that it's right? Very often they can't. We have some great success stories exactly when it meets to that point. It's like, I have so much evidence that everything in the system is deficient. Can you show me evidence that it's not? And they can't. They never provided it to begin with. We know that the contractors, once they install a system, they're supposed to really provide evidence that their system is working the way that it does. It's shocking to see how almost very, very few people do. So whenever we go and take those steps and we show the evidence to the homeowner, that's been probably my favorite experience is the whole process, is seeing their faces light up and go, okay, this is making sense now to me. So they know now how to defend themselves.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like to piggyback on is that, and Axel and I, in our approach, when we have the opportunity to meet with contractors out there and we meet with the builders, is it's not like we're belittling them or anything, because we're part of the same industry, right? And we want to make sure that we're protecting. But we use it as an opportunity to say, like, this is where we get training and this is what we've done to help us, to be able to get there. But we find a lot of I don't think a lot of it is malicious. I think it's just lack of training, lack of educating out there that we're seeing. And I tell people all the time, like, man, and I tell the guys, like, I'm not trying to, get you in trouble. You're an HVAC contractor. I'm an HVAC contractor, but we have to make our industry better, right? And that's like my passion. And Axel is a really good trainer, teacher at the office, and we meet every Monday. We're training, like doing things, and But it's, if we don't start educating the next generation and the we're going to continue to be on this path of major you know AC failures, everywhere. And, so we have to make the industry better.
Yeah. So one thing that we've been talking a lot about actually in other podcasts as well is that awareness, that general awareness of carbon monoxide. And it's such a scary thing when you think about, how many poisonings there are every year. I think, what was it, like over 100,000 poisonings per year or something like that. And those are the ones that we know about. So it's a good thing that you guys are bringing that awareness to your area. So do you think that, have you seen, other contractors in your area becoming more aware now that you're kind of, some of these cases are coming to the forefront?
It's a small percentage. We're seeing, there's a couple times like we'll go, we do a lot of new home, like pre-new home inspections before people move in. And Axel and I are starting to see more like testing ports now on some of the systems. Some contractors, we're seeing where static pressures, been measured. So we're starting to see a little bit of, but there's so much more out there that's being done wrong on a daily basis. But it's kind of rewarding for us when we can go to a house and do a before they buy it, they get a certain grace period to have it inspected. And we don't find a lot of deficiencies. That's pretty rewarding, like someone's out there doing something right,
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
What type of, I'm kind of curious, if somebody calls you and they're buying a new home, like what's your process look like for that?
Whenever they tell us, hey, I want to get this home inspected to make sure that I'm moving into a good home.
Yeah.
One of the first things I ask is there any way that you have access to the performance that the HVAC contractor did? Like, they show you the state of the performance. How's the refrigerant charge, the airflow, the statics? Normal, I believe manual J, manual D, the residential code. It's either a requirement or a recommendation for every new install to provide the evidence that you did
Right.
everything right on the system. We've even gone to homes that have like the commissioning list and it's completely empty. Everything is there, but no box has been checked. There's no data written whatsoever. It's just shows that it's the common practice of those contractors. So the first thing I ask, like, do you have that with you, or did they provide that at all? Can you petition them? And that way we skip that step. 9 out of 10 times, or 99 out of 100 times, they don't have it. They never did it. So that's when we go, and once we find any deficiency, once we get all the inspection, we put out a report that is both, we've been trying to get the language to be both layman's language and technical terminology, telling the homeowner this is what that means, and telling the technicians also, like, this is why we're doing this. This is the data. This is where our guidelines state that we should measure this. We should present this, and then it goes from there. There are builders who are humble enough that they go, okay, that's fine. We'll go and fix it. And there are others who they will never speak to us in good terms at all. But
what it looks like from the time that we get a call, we'll get a call from a homeowner that says, hey, I'm buying a new house and I would like to have you come out and inspect it. So we come out, we have different price tiers that we do depending on if it's zoning, non-zoning, but we come out there and we do a full analysis test on the system. We're looking at airflow, static, application, duct work, and we're capturing this information, and then that's what we're doing for the report. We're also looking at attic ventilation. We see a lot of challenges with attic ventilation, so part of that, we'll do a fog test to see how the ventilation is. We're checking dew point because we're seeing dew points now in attics at 75, 77 degrees, dew point in an attic. And you can open the attic door and just feel the mugginess and the heat, right? So those deficiencies wind up working their way back into the home. So on a new home, if we don't get it, I tell people, because what I've learned is if you don't address that before signing, once you sign, it's a whole different ballgame, and I've seen every builder out there that just like, they want that signed on the dotted line, and we're going to fix it and we'll make sure. And it doesn't ever happen that way, So our pre-inspection stuff that we do for the homeowners lets them know. We've gone on brand new homes that are operating and everything's sweating, dripping water. And I mean, you hit the duct and it literally drips water, right? And they're, oh, that's normal. That's part of it. No, that's not normal, right? I mean, it's not. You don't buy a brand new house and everything's starting to do this, sweating, and within one of the biggest challenges that we're working on now is how to prevent builders from actually starting up the systems before the house is cleaned, right? So we go look at these systems and they're full of sheetrock dust and full of it, it's the cabinet guys need this and the car, no, like we have to bring in some type of temporary cooling. And a lot of the stuff, the customer and the clientele that we're dealing with, we're pushing really hard. Like, please do not start this system up. These people are very sensitive. Like, is there something that we can do to pre-clean, HEPA filtration, air scrubbers, like before we do the startup? But we're seeing so many systems contaminated and blower wheels full of dust on startup on these brand new homes before people even move in, and so there's got to be an industry shift, a mindset that we're either educating. Manufacturers have to start putting that kind of language in their like, we cannot start these systems until the home is move-in ready, right? I mean, because they don't realize what we're doing to the indoor air quality when we start doing startups with all of that contaminants in the house.
Yeah, and I've seen. I think it was is it Matt Reislinger?
Mhm.
Reislinger. He's from the area.
He's from Austin. Yes, sir.
Austin,
He's
yeah.
from this area.
I think he showed a situation where different builders, they'll put a package unit on a trailer and they'll just back it into the driveway. They'll run some flex duct in, and that's their
Temporary cooling.
For the house. Yeah,
Matt has his own trailer. He has I've had the privilege of going to his shop and he hosts some meetings, but he actually has like 3 or 4 trailers already rigged out. And I've got the idea from him, and I've got one too now. But it's a temporary trailer, and that's what they do. And we got a media filter on there, April air. We've got UV light, and then we're breaking it down and cleaning it, disinfecting it, so that we're not taking it somewhere else and then having it contaminated or contaminate someone else's homes. So that's kind of the difference that we're doing with ours, is just making sure that it's safe for that next project.
So you're doing things that not a whole lot of other contractors are doing in your area.
Yeah.
So what's next for your company? What do you have on the horizon? Is there anything new that you're looking at getting into, or can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah. So right, this coming what we're gonna do is we've got a couple guys that we're gonna get BPI certified, for building science stuff. We've invested in some more blower doors, some more testing equipment, and then but just and then of course we have a commercial division that we've had, but it's we finally got someone in place running that. So we're going to take that to the commercial side of making sure that we're designing and properly installing commercial on the commercial side too. So I mean, that's we've got a lot of things out in the works right now. So and expanding, we're going through growing pains just like everybody else, but it's it takes time to train, and we like to get guys that are green that we can take through NCI through our training on site. But to get to this level, it's a couple years, of hands-on.
So what are some of the things that you've implemented training wise within your own organization internally?
So we started with processes and having processes written down for, I've shared with people like, from showing up on an install, like how to lay out the drop cloth. So I think writing down processes, and, we started with contractors, like, so our service department, so everybody's on the same page, speaking the same language. And then we train a lot on airflow, duct design. We have some dehumidifiers that we're always trying to figure out, like, if you put this much ductwork on it, it reduces a 100-pint dehumidifier to a 45-pint dehumidifier, like with the static and stuff. So we're always experimenting with stuff. We've gotten really big into the IAQ with HEPA filtration. we do double filtration on all of our systems. So we like to have a pre-filter in the like a MERV 5 in the return air grill, and then up in the unit, so that we're keeping that return duct clean. So, but just fine tuning our processes. And you know, I think one of the hardest things like that I've been battling is like it's hard to say no, you know, because I get so many people that call wanting us to come out, and my wife says we can't save the world, you know, like you have to take care of yourself and your health. But right now, Axel and I are 8 to 10 weeks booked out for forensic work. That's
Yep.
Wow.
two calls. We try to take no more than 2 calls a day right now, 2 appointments. But sometimes we have to work in a third one, and then we also have to make time to do the reports and stuff. But on the forensic side, people just they're waiting, like they
Yeah.
want answers, and we're come highly recommended, and we provide solutions. And what I like about it is, I know I have access to Dave Richardson and all them, but Paul Weeble is in Waco, and I'll text message him, I'll email him, and he helps me out a lot, you know. So I tell people I'm not all knowing, but I surround myself with a team of people that can help me with answers, and that help me, you know, get me on that right path. So um,
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about that support system that you have with the different mentors and the people that you've like Paul Wiebolt that you've been that you've had the pleasure of working with over the years.
yeah. So it's amazing. I tell people I didn't get here by myself. I've had a lot of people who've sewn into my life, and I've had building science guys. I've had NCI team. I've had just other colleagues in the industry that had really good knowledge and experience on things that I've had access to, and that freely gave me information. I tell people I've walked in favor in this industry, and but it's also now like I'm able to give back. I have you know Manny in Dallas that I go up and visit and help him on some projects, and then Paul Weeble, we've tag team a couple of projects as well. But there's a new guy here today, Terry, that's attending Summit out of Pasadena, and invited me to go look at a job with him on some makeup air for kitchen exhaust. And so it's nice to be able to network and work with guys who are like-minded, but that we're all putting our heads together to figure things out, you know. And but I like the approach of you know, just the camaraderie, and then, you know, the fact that I do have a resource of people that answer their phones. And I told someone the other day, I said, I think the longest I had to wait on a phone call for NCI to return my call was like 15 minutes. But then there was one time where someone was in a meeting. They said, oh, they're meeting to finish in 45 minutes. And I literally got a call like within about 45 minutes. So I was like, you know, this is my fraternity, you know, like it's a brotherhood.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
that's
and,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it actually the last conversation we just had with Anthony Wu, it's funny because he said something I thought was totally profound, and he said, you know, there is collaboration at the top and it's competition at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why
Yeah.
didn't I
Yeah.
think of that?
Yeah.
You know, that was just an amazing thing that he said. I'm curious to see, you know, Axel, what's your favorite aspect of this type of forensic work? Like, what do you really enjoy about it?
It has to be talking to the homeowner, which ironically is one of the least favorite things of most technicians. Is like, oh man, I have to deal with them. But I think one of the whole reasons anyone ever gets into HVAC, besides wanting to understand the machinery, is also what you're bringing to someone's house. And one of my favorite things about me learning HVAC is I was no longer intimidated by that piece of equipment. I never really understood it when I was little. And so many people still don't understand. There are so many people who still tell me to this day, oh yeah, so the outdoor unit, it takes the hot air out of the house through that fan, right? It's like, it's interesting, the misunderstanding of it. But once they get to know it, and once I got to know it, the confidence of, let's say, just being in a home or being in any space increases, because now you know how something works, you know how it's supposed to work. It's a machine that we use every day. It's similar to our cars, right? Sure, we rely on technicians to fix our cars, but like, we should know how to use it. It's to the benefit of not just us, but the people who also share the roads with us. So similar to a house, we have a power grid that we share with everybody, and we need to know how to use that system. We breathe in the air that it's in our home. When I talk to homeowners, as I said earlier, I think my favorite thing is seeing them once something finally clicks in their head. It's like, why is it that technician after technician has come to my house and they tell me different stories? It's because your filter, it's because your refrigerant, it's because your ducts need to be clean, etc. And fine, we look at everything. We take our time looking at everything that may be wrong or right with that system. And at the end, what we have is almost like a story. This is what's going on. Every time you click a thermostat to come on, this is what the system does. Every time you go to sleep, the temperature drops. Now this is how your system is operating when the conditions are different. Little by little, then they can repeat the story to me. And now we're speaking the same language. And I think they really love that, because the amount of calls that we get from homeowners is endless. I really wish we could just have more people with the same level of knowledge just to talk to them. A lot of the time, they just they get hungry for that knowledge once they begin to understand it. And I think that's my favorite thing. At the end of every email that I send to a homeowner on my reports, it's like, here it is. I hope that I made it as clear as possible. Here's my number. Call me. I can walk you through everything. Right. So that I think that's my favorite part.
I would say mine is helping others, helping the homeowners have a healthy home, and understanding how that works. And so, but also and just owning the business and running it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm there. My team teases me that I'm a workaholic. I mean, I'm always there, but I really enjoy what I do and I love it. And I have a passion to wanting to learn. I'm always wanting to learn and grow and find out things. And we test things. And I've got a lead install guy that is very sharp, knowledgeable at like understanding. And I call him because I don't know. I mean, I don't do hardly any of the startups, so I have to call him and help me through it. But we put our heads together, and that's what I like about our team is like, just because I own the business, I don't have to know everything, right? I've put people in place that are sharp and that have a great understanding, and there's a loyalty, and and we're bouncing things off of each other, and we communicate a lot, and we take care of our team. We've created a culture, and they like it when they go to trainings and they feel like they're the smartest ones in the room, and they only have 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience. And there's guys that they're in the training with that have 15 years. And some of those guys I'll see in the deal, or they'll text me like, man, you got some sharp guys. And I mean, I was just sharing with them, I got a call from a guy that goes, man, I want to steal all your team, like that's how great he goes, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen a team like y'all's, like I would love to have any one of your guys, like that's very rewarding, like we're doing something right, and the culture that we've created, our team, they're just as passionate about it. Our service techs, from their processes to our install team to, and we get, I mean, I could show you countless of text messages from homeowners like, man, your team is very professional. When you said we're doing things different, like we kept HEPA vacuums on all of our trucks. So our guys are HEPA vacuuming the house after every job. If our project goes 2 or 4 days, they're cleaning up after every night. They're cleaning up. And I get so many calls like, thank you for HEPA vacuuming. Like it means a lot. Like, we deploy air scrubbers on all of our jobs. So we have air scrubbers, those filter, like we break them down, clean them, but we bring in dehumidifiers so that the house doesn't get above 60% when we're working in it. So we're taking things to the next level, and it's about showing the customer that we care, and we do, we genuinely care about what we're doing. And so anything that we can do to make improvements and make the house better, that's what we're doing. And so, but it's little things, when you look at an air scrubber, the cost of an air scrubber to put out there and you're when you're taking out ductwork and you're capturing all those particulates through an air scrubber, that they show you respect their home, and that's what they like. So it's been a great journey so far. And I mean, this will be my 30th year going into it, and I just pray that God gives me like Paul Weeble age where I can be 72 years old, sitting up here, still doing it, still working, and and just like he's a wizard, so
Looks like one too.
yeah, he does. So.
All right, Brian and Axel, it was a pleasure having you guys on once again from Crossway Mechanical in Houston, Texas. We really appreciate having you guys on and being a part of Summit. It's been a great experience talking to you and hearing your story and a little bit about what you guys do and how you're making an impact in your communities. And really, elevating the customer experience and, just keeping them safe. So
Yeah.
really, really love to hear that. Anything else, Adam?
No, it was great learning what you guys do, and I appreciate you spreading knowledge. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you both. Man.
Thank you,
Really
guys.
honored.
All right. Thanks, guys.